The general purpose of all humanity is to be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, and have dominion. And Jesus fulfilled that through the fivefold ministry of apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers. We also learn that from the Solomon, a wise man's perspective, that the whole duty of human beings is to fear God, which means to honor, reverence, and respect God, and to keep God's commandments. And those commandments that Jesus summarized are to love God, to love yourself, and to love everyone else. It's just that simple. And we also learned on Wednesday from the Pauline perspective that the whole purpose why we're here is to be conformed to the image of Christ, to be the best Christ that we can be with every person, every time, and in every place. To let that Christ that is in you manifest outside of you in your day-to-day experiences with other people. So we've covered Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday a general idea of what the purpose of humanity is. Now we desire to look at specifically on Thursday and Friday. Today is Thursday and tomorrow is Friday. What your individual purpose is. What is your piece of this puzzle? What is your slice of this pie? And so in order to understand that, we're going to look at the parable of the Good Samaritan, which is found in Luke chapter 10, verses 25 through 37. Again, that's Luke chapter 10, verses 25 through 37. And I'm not going to read all of that, but I'm going to invite you to read the parable of the Good Samaritan, Luke chapter 10, verses 25 through verses 37. If you've ever heard of the parable of the Good Samaritan, give me a thumbs up, give me a high five, give me a heart. If you've ever read the parable of the Good Samaritan, give me a thumbs up, give me a high five, give me a heart. If you are familiar with the parable of the Good Samaritan, there are many hospitals are named Good Samaritan Hospital. They call it for short Good Sam, because this is such a powerful parable that Jesus taught that it transcends religion, it transcends time. The parable of the Good Samaritan is one of the most powerful parables that Jesus taught that most people know the parable of the Good Samaritan. There's even a law called the Good Samaritan law that if you are in an effort trying to help somebody and that person is harmed unintentionally while you're trying to help them, that they cannot sue you for the harm that they experienced because your intention was to help them. And that's called the Good Samaritan law. Give me a thumbs up, give me a high five, give me a heart if you have any idea of what I'm talking about. Good Sam hospitals, Good Sam parable, Good Sam law. Give me a thumbs up, give me a high five, give me a heart. Well, we're going to look at that to discover our individual purpose, because our subject for today is purpose is playing your part. Again, when you understand purpose, you understand that there's a part for you to play. So fulfilling your purpose, discovering your one word is in any given situation, knowing what your part, what your role is. What is your part in the play? What is your role in this particular situation? All right? So that's how you discover your purpose, is by knowing in any situation what your role is. All right? All right, so pulley point number one, in order to understand what your purpose is, you got to know your particular part. There are other parts, but you got to know your part. In the story of the Good Samaritan, there are 6 parts that I understand. All right? As I understand it, there were 6 roles or 6 parts in the parable of the Good Samaritan. Let's see if you can give me some of the roles, some of the people that were in the parable of the Good Samaritan. Just type it out in the comment section of right there in the comments section, any role that you remember from the story of the Good Samaritan. So the first role that I'm going to just allow you to do it, and I'm going to say it and see if you can catch up with me. All right. All the roles that you know in the story, just type them in the comment section. So the first role in the story of the Good Samaritan is the man that's walking on the Jericho road. So that's one role. Another role in the story are the thieves that rob him and beat him, steal from him, take his clothes, his money, and leave him half dead. So we got the role of the actual man walking down the Jericho road. We got the role of the thief. You got the role of the priest who saw the man and walked on the other side of the street. You have the role of the Levite, who also saw the man and walked on the other side of the street. You had the role of the Good Samaritan, who actually helped the man, and you have the role of the innkeeper as well, who did the long-term care. All right. So in this particular story, in this particular situation, everybody has a different role that they are playing. All right. We had the role of the man walking down the Jericho road, the role of the thieves, the role of the priest, who had a responsibility to take care of the temple. That was his role in this situation. The role of the Levite, who was an assistant to the priest. The role of the Good Samaritan that stopped and helped. The role of the innkeeper, who did the long-term care. So you had the crisis intervention with the Good Samaritan, and you got the innkeeper who did the long-term care. So in any situation, you might be the person that is having this challenge where you're walking along your Jericho road. In a situation, you might be the thief. Sometimes we rob ourselves. We steal from ourselves. Sometimes we rob from relationships by not giving our all. Sometimes, and when you really understand purpose, you understand that you could be any one of these roles at any particular time. That sometime I'm the person needing assistance. Sometime I'm the person that's the antagonist causing the tension and the confusion in the situation. I'm the thief. Sometimes I'm the priest. I got another assignment that I got to do that's the focus of my attention. Sometimes I'm the Levite, where I'm not the head person as the priest. I'm assisting somebody else. So I got to be there for the priest to assist the priest. The priest did the sacrifices, the sacrament, which would be like the elder. And the Levite was the assistant, like the deacon or the minister, that set things up and prepared things. And so each one of those roles were just as important. It was just as important as the priest that was offering the sacrifice, as the Levite who had to get everything set up so that he could offer up the sacrifices. So they had important roles to play. And their role was in the temple, assisting in the temple, setting up the temple, serving the temple. Their role was not in the street. And they didn't have what the man needed. All right. And then the role of the Good Samaritan was to be the helper in that particular situation, short term, to do crisis intervention. And then the role of the innkeeper was to do long-term care. And many times we get confused about our purpose is because we are stuck in one particular role. And we think that that's the only role that we are to play. So we have a very myopic view of our purpose because we only see one role that we can play. But depending on the story, depending on what's going on, you could be any of those parts. So fulfilling your purpose is knowing the part that I am to play in this particular scenario. You are in the scenario, you're in the situation, in the circumstance, in the challenge, because there's a role that you need to play. Discovering your purpose is fulfilling what it is that's your role in that particular situation. Give me some thumbs up, give me some high fives, give me some hearts if you understand that your role might change. That you have to figure out, what is my role in this particular situation? Am I always the person that does long-term care? Am I always the innkeeper? Am I always the Good Samaritan, the one that's doing the short-term care? Am I always the person that's stealing from somebody? Am I always the victim that somebody beat me up, somebody stole, somebody robbed, somebody left me half for dead? Am I always the priest, that my role is a spiritual role that is in a particular place? Am I always the assistant? When you understand purpose, you understand that you can be any one of the characters that are in this particular story, depending on where you are in consciousness and what your assignment is. Give me some thumbs up, give me some high fives, give me some hearts if you can admit that sometime I've been the one that got robbed. Sometime I've been the one that did the robbing and the stealing. Come on, own it all. Sometime I can only be there for a short term while. Sometime I'm there with people for the long haul. Sometimes I got something else that's more pressing that I need to do than what this situation is. And sometimes I've got to help somebody that I have a prior commitment to assist someone else. The Levite's responsibility was to assist the priest. So he couldn't assist the priest and assist the man that was on the road at the same time. So in any given situation, you got to know what your role is. Purpose is knowing what your role is in the situation. So pulley point number one, purpose is knowing your part. Pulley point number two is knowing that there is a larger story going on. Because many times we think our part is the only part in the story, and that they're not other parts. But this story comes together because everybody has a different role. Everybody has a different part. And when you truly understand your purpose, you will understand that your purpose is connected to other people's purpose. You will understand that your purpose is a piece of a bigger puzzle. You will understand that your part is a part in a bigger play, a bigger movie, a bigger TV show, however you choose to see it. So pulley point number one is to know your part, and pulley point number two is to know that there is a larger story that's going on. There is a bigger purpose. There's a higher plan that is going on. You just play what your role is in the story. Knowing that there is a bigger purpose, a higher plan, a full screen. Like I may only be one of the people that are the bystanders, but there's a bigger storyline that's going on. And so if everybody plays their particular part, then we can get this show on the road. If everybody does what their role is, then we can keep moving and evolving and unfolding. Don't get your role twisted with somebody else's role. You do your part. Stay in your lane. Do what it is that God has called you to do. There is a bigger purpose going on. And if everybody plays their particular part, this will be a smooth running show. Give me some thumbs up. Give me some high fives. Give me some hearts. If you realize the importance of knowing what your role is in any situation. Okay, I'm in this situation. What am I to be? What am I to say? What am I to do? What am I to know? I'm in this situation for a purpose. I'm in this situation for a reason. What is my part in it? All right, so you got to know your part. And pulley point number two, you got to know that your part is not the only part. There is a bigger thing going on. You just do your part, but know that other people are connected to you, that this purpose, this plan of God that is being fulfilled requires more than one part. This is not a solo act. This is not a one-man, one-woman show, but everybody has a part to play. And Jesus is talking about this in this story of the Good Samaritan. He's showing how love unfolds. Jesus is being love, and he's taught the principle, love God, love yourself, love everyone else. He's taught that to this expert of the law, and now he's demonstrating to him through a story, through a parable of how this love works. Because our purpose, all of us are called to be loved. But what that love looks like in a particular situation might be different. Can I say that again? We're all called to be loved. And our one word cause us to express love in the universe. And sometimes it's short-term care, sometimes it's long-term care, sometimes it's I got another commitment, so I got to do that. Sometimes I got to assist somebody else. Sometimes there's something in me that needs to be healed. So I'm the one that's robbing. I'm the one that's stealing. Sometimes I'm the one that's the victim in the situation. Then I just need to let somebody take care of me. I just need to be there and let somebody take care of me. I'm not always going to be the Good Samaritan. Sometimes I need somebody to be a Good Samaritan for me. Give me a thumbs up. Give me some high fives. Give me some hearts. But as you grow in consciousness, you're able to see that in my life, I've been in all of these different roles. In my life, I've been in all of these different positions, and that there was a bigger story going on. If you get fixated on just you and not realize that there are other characters in this story, there are other parts to be played, then you will not experience the fullness of life. If you restrict your role, then you think that you are pigeonholed, that you are boxed in, that you can only be one role. You got to know how to be the understudy sometimes. If somebody is not filling their role, I can step in because I know I've been all of these roles. All right, so pulley point number one, when you really understand purpose, you know what your role is in any given situation or circumstance. Pulley point number two, you realize that there's a bigger storyline that's going on, that there's a bigger purpose and a higher plan that's happening, and I'm just doing my particular piece, my particular part. Pulley point number three is that this story has a happy ending. When you know your role and do it, and you realize that you're not the only character, that there's a bigger storyline, if you do your part and don't judge other people, get frustrated. Nobody in this story goes to the man who is the Good Samaritan. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Does not go to the priest and say, you should have been there to help him. He does not go to the Levite and say, well, how in the world could you walk by and see that man there? He doesn't go after the thieves to try to catch him. What he does is he focuses on his role and realizes there's a bigger part to play. And there is a happy ending. Know the truth today, that if I do my part, and if I understand that there's a bigger picture that's happening, if I understand that there's a higher purpose and a larger storyline that's going on, we will get to the happy ending. And right now we're in the midst of a lot of unrest, and the earth is healing itself, having a health challenge, but there will be a happy ending. Everything will work together for our good because we love God and because we have been called according to God's purpose. When you understand purpose, you understand that this is a comedy and not a tragedy, that this will be a happy ending. You know, if you stop in the middle of the story with the man and the thief, then you don't get to the happy ending. If you get stuck in the story with the priest and the Levite that walked by and didn't help the man, you will not get to the happy ending. You got to keep on seeing the story all the way out. You got to keep on living so that you can get to the happy ending. You've got to keep on growing so that you can get to the happy ending. You got to keep unfolding so that you can get to the happy end. I promise you, there will be a happy ending. But the only way that you're going to get to it is that you got to keep allowing the story to play out, knowing that God's divine purpose is happening right in the midst of this crisis, right in the midst of what seems like an awful, horrible catastrophe experience. God has a bigger purpose and plan that is being played out. So I'm going to just stick on. They used to sing a song in the old church, believe I'll run on to see what the end going to be. That I'm going to stick and watch the whole movie. I'm not going to stop in the middle of the story. I'm going to do my part. I'm going to realize there's a larger story and parts that are going on besides me, and I'm going to allow it to unfold until I get to the happy ending. I love you so much. God bless you. Thank you so much for being a part of the Daily Download. If you were blessed by today's message, sow a seed, meet a need, boost this post. The Cash App information is on your screen because I believe that hundreds, thousands of people need to hear what you heard today, need to free themselves from duty and obligations and wouldas and couldas and shouldas and boxed in roles to be able to really fulfill what their purpose is. So if you believe that, sow a seed, meet a need, boost this post, tag somebody in the post, share this on your page. If you missed any part of this, go back and start a watch party. Until tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m., remember, there's only one life, and that life is God's life. And God is living God's life through me, and God is living God's life through you.